All right, everybody, welcome back to an episode of the Gridiron Uncensored podcast. Week 7 tonight. We were talking about trying to be good, buddy. Hey,
All right.
I don't know. Dang, I'm live, damn it. What, Dave? Yeah.
All righty.
All right, hold on. What an episode. Hey, I love you. All right. So anyway, we're starting the show. Oh, I am live. Yeah. Okay.
We
so
on.
Anyway.
We on.
Sorry, my wife's gone crazy tonight. She's a great woman. But either way, we're talking week 7 college football. We hope you guys enjoy this episode. We're trying to be loose and fun. Obviously, going on right now, we've got UTEP playing Western Kentucky, and Western Kentucky is beating them 27-14. Like I said, I think it was starting on Thursday. Maybe no, it was Wednesday night. I believe we had our first college football. Maybe it's Tuesday, but it's like the first one for all the way until the end of December. 55. Thank you, Blake.
55 straight days, baby.
He knows what the hell I'm talking about because I don't. But either way, football all the way through. It's a beautiful time of year, gentlemen, ladies.
Yep.
It's wonderful.
Temperatures starting to drop.
Don't ask us.
Bonfires are starting to happen.
Exactly. Hey, don't ask us to do anything on the weekends. I'm not leaving. Okay, I'm not leaving this house, and that's what we're doing. So tonight we're talking week 7. We got a huge lineup this week. Of course, we've got our pick'em set up. We've got gridlocks and all that good stuff that we're going to chat about. Friday night games before we get into it. We got a couple of good ones here. Northwestern and Maryland tomorrow night, 7 p.m. And then UNLV, can they recover from the loss last week against Syracuse? They're playing Utah State. Utah State's 1-4. So, I mean, you're like, okay, this team should do it. They still have – it's only one loss. They have every potential to go back and get into the playoff race, but they have to handle business. And then Utah versus Arizona State on Friday night, 9:30 p.m. That's a little bit of the Big 12 after dark, which sounds very jacked up to say, but sure enough, it is. Thanks, babe. And the spread on that one's interesting. It's 5.5 in favor of Utah, but the Cam Rising saga continues. I know that's not one of our games tonight that we're going to talk about, but it's an interesting one. I saw a report. I think it was from I can't remember. Somebody from CBS. So he mentioned that Cam Rising is expected to play. How many times have we heard that, guys?
They've been saying it for 3 weeks.
Out in Vegas, paying somebody to say it so they can figure it out.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just every part of me is like, look, I like this Utah team coming in this year, but I just can't trust him without Cam. And if he's still got a scratch on his finger or whatever the hell the problem is, I don't know. So guys, let's go ahead. If we got nothing else for these Friday games, let's jump into some of these pick 'em. What do you say?
Yeah, let's
go.
All right, Trev pulled it up, and we're going to go down the list here. The first one up, and Blake's got a nice write-up here. We'll publish that on the Crimson and Blue blog there tomorrow. But Alabama, South Carolina, the spread is currently 21 points in favor of Alabama. It's an interesting matchup because a couple of weeks ago, South Carolina was looking really good, but then last week they got punked by Ole Miss. And, was that a product of Ole Miss getting beat the week before? Did they finally figure it out? I don't know. What do you guys think about this South Carolina team? I know the defense is strong at times on the defensive front. I still worry about the offense though, and what they have at quarterback.
As much as I'd love to see South Carolina be consistent, I just don't think that's a possibility. Yeah. I just think the quarterback's all right. And he does have some decent legs on him as far as making extended plays and everything like that. But at the end of the day, Bama's just going to out talent. Like, I know that we talk about like a lot of these bigger teams trying to just go off of sheer talent. In this particular case, it is a stark difference between the talent on Bama as opposed to the talent on SC. That being said, South Carolina does have a good defense, and if they can pressure Milroe and actually contain Milroe to a certain degree and make him sit in the pocket and try and throw, there may be a chance to keep it close for a half, but I think that Bama will eventually pull away in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think coming off the loss last week, I think you're going to see a completely different Alabama team, or I hope and pray you see a different Alabama team. I've been worried about our defense all year. They just haven't looked like they're just in a constant state of confusion. and you can see it on the field. But I've been reading a lot of stuff about, coming out of the team, that it's the plays are getting called in late. Apparently during the Vanderbilt game, that was one of the issues with Malachi Moore, is he was having to make changes because the plays coming in super late, and that's one of the reasons we was out of position so many times. And which the captain, that kind of is his job. He's the leader of the defense, and but that was kind of causing friction between him and Womack. Supposedly, I can't confirm any of this. This is just hearsay off of Twitter, but it makes sense. And
I mean, towards the end of the game, you could visibly see some of the defensive players being super upset about the way this is all this happened and all this stuff like that. So I think that thought process tracks.
Well, it supposedly was addressed, and there's something that's been put in place to help get plays in quicker. I know that they spoke to the team about the leaders and seniors on the team, taking more of a leadership role. Really, Bama just needs to clean up the act. I mean, the penalties and inflicted penalties, and it's constant. It's been since the USF game. It's just every time they put themselves, get a 3rd and long, a face mask or a PI, and we just can't get people off the field. The defense stays on the field the whole game. The offense really hadn't sputtered any, but South Carolina, I think the matchup is better. They have the potential with a spread option attack with the type of quarterback play they have to possibly cause some noise, but I don't think that their offensive line is as good as Vanderbilt's, and that sounds weird saying that, but Vanderbilt, if you look at the teams they've played, good games. I know they lost to like Georgia State or Georgia Southern or whatever. I'm not talking about wins and losses. I'm just talking about the way they play football, and they look like a different Vanderbilt. I'm not saying, they're going to win the SEC or anything like that. And that doesn't mean Bama should have lost that game to them. They beat Bama's ass that game. But I think the way South Carolina plays versus the way Vanderbilt plays, I would give Vanderbilt an edge on the way that they match up to Alabama. And I think Bama just runs away with this one.
Yeah, and when I'm looking at schedules, and really the only game that I feel like was Bama just took off on was the Wisconsin game, and it's because they had 0 quarterback play with Braden Locke, and defensively they were also able to shut them down early. You look at USF. If USF had a better quarterback, I think Alabama loses that game, especially early. I know the score doesn't really show it, but this guy, USF, they were missing passes. It was kind of ugly. But when you go and you play Vanderbilt, who does more spread option, and they're running this triple option set, these shovel passes and all this stuff that they were doing, Pavia was on it. And you have to if you're going up against one of the best talented teams in the country, you have to out-maneuver and out-scheme, like Blake wrote in his blog post last week. And Vanderbilt did that. So can South Carolina do that? I don't think they have the quarterback talent to do it like Vanderbilt did. Do they have pieces on defense to slow Bama down? I think they do, but Bama's offense has also been clicking. So I'm taking Bama in this one, boys. I think it's just going to be too much. I think we all agreed on that, right? And it's just
Bama across the board on this one.
It might be close in the first quarter for first 2 quarters. I don't know if they're going to have the offensive firepower to play score for score with Alabama.
Pretty sure that's what they said last week too.
It's true, but like you said, I mean, hey, Vandy, they lost to Georgia.
Any given Saturday, though, right? Any given Saturday,
yeah.
I still think Bama's got there's really no excuse for Bama to lose. However, I mean, yeah, I got.
But like you said, that's why we play the games. That's why we play it. And
any given Saturday, right?
And you hope that there has been, if you're Alabama, if you're a fan of Alabama, you hope that there's been adjustments, especially on the defensive side. Because offense, I think you still look pretty damn good. But like I said, we'll see. That game will be pretty telling, I think. Texas, Oklahoma next up. Red River shootout, the Red River rivalry. hard to say. The Red River rivalry, if I can get it out right, currently sitting at a 14.5-point spread in favor of Texas, the number one Longhorns. I mean, people are saying they're back. They've had a good year and a half, 2 years really. In Oklahoma, they're still in the top 25. They're still leaning on that defense. They've made quarterback changes. Can they pull it out here against Texas, guys? What do you think? They beat Auburn, after the before the bye week. What do you think?
Well, where I'm at with Texas is that I said it early on in the year. I think we did. I mentioned it when we were talking the SEC conference in general, is that Texas looks to be this year's Michigan, meaning that not that they're identical to Michigan from last year, from when they won the national, but that they are a veteran group across the board.
Yeah.
They've got a very veteran offensive line. They've got a lot of returning starters that they had with the defense, and they have just gotten better as the year has gone on. And I just don't see that they're going to be a very tough team to beat regardless. This is the one game where I kind of circled as when it's a rivalry game. Doesn't even matter if one team's ranked and the other team's unranked as far as I'm concerned with these two teams. It is kind of like the Michigan-Ohio State or insert rivalry here, Auburn, Alabama, or whatever the case. I think that in this particular case, I think that Texas will beat Oklahoma, but I think it is going to be a nail biter.
Yeah, I just don't think Oklahoma has the firepower to be able to keep up. Like what Brendan was saying about South Carolina, even though they've made the quarterback change to Hawkins, I still don't see it. Their defense is pretty good, but holding Texas, they've got so many weapons on Texas. I just don't see them being able to keep Texas below 28. And even if they hold Texas to 28, I don't see their offense being able to generate that much points against a defense. So, yeah. I'm going Texas, and I think it's an easy win for them.
Yeah, look, even Texas with a backup quarterback and a young quarterback, they were still beating teams, by a large margin. SEC team in Mississippi State, because I know it's Mississippi State, but SEC, it doesn't matter. They blew out ULM, who's been a pretty solid team in the group of five. They beat the hell out of UTSA. Now Quinn Ewers is back. But if something's going on, if he's still not fully back, they feel like they can lean on Manning to be the guy. And, that's something I feel like that says a lot, because a lot of teams with the backup quarterback still cannot go out and win games, or at least keep it, within two possessions or outside of two possessions, excuse me. So I just don't think that Oklahoma is going to have the offensive firepower. Now, again, this is for picks purposes. If they had, a better quarterback situation and they were moving the ball on offense, then maybe this would be different, in picks. But when you're looking at the spread, you're looking at, what Texas brings back. To me, it would be pretty hard to pick Oklahoma no matter what. And but what they have, I cannot pick them. Do I think they could maybe win? It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. Absolutely.
OU's not a bad team. They just have a little bit of controversy on the offensive side of the ball, which going into a game like this is not something you really want to have.
Exactly. And again, it's just going to boil down to who can score the most points. It sounded like John Madden over here.
I was looking at
the football eyes. He's going to score and they're going to win.
So just for matter of clarification, we're all going Texas, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I do find it interesting that the over under is for the Texas Oklahoma game is less than some other games on our list. That I would not think it would be a higher scoring overall game than this one. Personally,
yeah. It's probably just because they're the same way. Hey, they're not going to score points, man. I don't know.
Only one team's going to really score in this game.
So we'll see. But we're all rocking first two picks: all Bama, all Texas. And if it's anything like last week, we're screwed. We'll see what happens. Next up, boys, we're going to jump on Cal and Pittsburgh. Pitt is jumped up to number 22 in the AP poll, 5-0, 1-0 in conference.
Hashtag save Narduzzi.
Yeah, Narduzzi, we thought he was going to get fired. He was going to get canned, but Holstein has come in and he's really saved the day. Cal, on the other hand, the team that we thought could really shake up the ACC, has been really freaking close. They got screwed last week. I think everybody can agree with that.
I think they played overall well, though.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not like they're playing bad ball. They're just getting – they're just not getting the breaks.
That loss to Florida State just looms to me. Yeah. It's like, what? But either way, Cal's coming out. Mendoza's been having a pretty solid year at running back. I feel like the issue with Cal has been the running game, though. Even though they have a talented running back, it's just it hasn't been pretty. But passing wise, they've been pretty solid. So what do you guys think on this? I'm going offensively for Cal. They can't run the ball well. Can they find something? And then for Pitt, they've had a pretty decent run attack. They've been able to throw. What do you guys think?
Well, I never thought that Holstein would just come in and just light it on fire like he has. And I think that although I think Pitt has a very good opportunity to keep climbing in the rankings, I think Cal is going to come in and knock him down a peg.
Yeah.
Because while I know Pitt is pretty darn formidable in their home stadium, I just think that I think Cal's going to come out with a get him mindset. I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. All I know is I'm picking Pitt or Cal or whatever.
Well, make a goddamn choice.
Are you sure?
What the hell are you
in this coffee, man? Shit.
You need.
I'm going the other way.
Is it supposed to be a full moon? Because I don't know what's going on right now.
No, it's the Aurora, man. It's that level 4 Geo.
That's what it is.
It's that
the Geostorm. Yep. Pure manipulation.
Where's Alex Jones when you need him, Blake? Where are you at?
It's a catalyst. It's a catalyst.
I've got the documents. We digress.
But
hold on, Trevor. Who the hell are you picking?
Oh, Cal.
He's picking Cal.
Okay.
I know I bounced around there for a second, but I came back.
All right, double check. Wait, go ahead.
I'm going Pitt. I like what Eli Holstein's doing. I think Cal is about to they're about to spiral. They've lost. The Florida State loss was brutal, but when you go back and really break them down, they barely beat Auburn. They lose to Florida State. They had a huge lead on Miami. Now, the refs did give Miami the game in the end, but Cal did let them claw their way back into it. I like what this Pitt team is doing. I think they're real consistent. They're very balanced. And Eli Holstein does not tend to make mistakes. He's a very smart quarterback, and I like his style of play. I wish he would have stayed at Bama. I thought he was the future there. I have the receipts. But, I like Pitt in this game.
Look, when I look at the schedules, they seem pretty similar to me. Cincinnati's kind of been coming on lately. At times, West Virginia's kind of found themselves maybe. But then they played a weak Youngstown State, and I'm talking about Pitt, and then North Carolina, which, again, they've been very up and down, strange team. Cal, on the other hand, Auburn, which has had offensive struggles, but they're still a talented roster, SEC team. San Diego State, then they played FSU, which we know has had plenty of struggles, and then they lose to them. And then they go up against the top 10 Miami team. They're beating the dog out of them, and then they let them walk back with the help of some refs, whatever. It doesn't matter. They still lost. They should not have let them get back into that game. So I think the spread on this is only 3 points, and I understand why. Pitt is at home, so they get the automatic 3. So this one to Vegas it's a dead even, effectively. I'm going to run with Pitt here just because I feel like their running game has been a little bit better, but Cal is tested. When I look at it, they're a little bit more tested, I think. So I think this could go either way, but I'm going to run with the running attack on Pitt, and also Holstein he's a gamer, man. This dude looks the part. So that's what I'm going to run with. I don't know. Could go either way though. Gentlemen, still we're talking. Unless anybody's got anything else on that one, we're gonna hit Penn State and USC. Anybody got anything on that last one? I thought somebody's mic hit.
Nope.
All right, so let's hit it up. Penn State, USC. Penn State, James Franklin's already making excuses. He's complaining about having to travel out to California because the runway isn't long enough there in Pennsylvania. Well, you know what? You guys got a lot of money. Make the freaking runway longer. I don't know. Do something. But either way, every team has to travel. So stop it. Stop complaining. You're number 4 in the country. You're 5-0. You have a senior or a veteran quarterback. Show us what you're made of, or are you going to blow another big game, James Franklin? Let's see. When you're talking about USC, they've got a good quarterback as well. They've blown a couple of games themselves to Michigan and Minnesota. So this is an interesting setup here. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Singleton for Penn State is supposed to be back from his injury. He was out last week. So what are you guys feeling on this game?
He really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's back for Penn State. James Franklin is making excuses now because he doesn't know how to coach, and I don't really care really much about him and his bald ass head. But as far as the game goes, I still think that Alar is a joke. I don't think he is all that everyone is cracking him up to be. Whatever. I think USC beats Penn State by 2 touchdowns, and that's it.
Oh, wow.
Hitting the facts straight up, man. He don't give a damn.
So
not about nothing but it. Send it.
I don't disagree with you at all. This is that time of year that Penn State typically drops a game. I mean, you look at week 7, 8, 9, they're pretty much guaranteed a loss, and it's usually from a team that they should have beat. And I think this is one of those teams that they should beat on paper. However, the thing is with USC is, like a lot of teams I've said this about this year, they just cannot seem to find consistency. They shoot themselves in the foot a lot. They have some good drives going, and then they'll get down across midfield and can't get a first down. And defensively, the same thing. They will hold a team to third down, and then they'll give up a big 20, 25-yard play. And I've watched them do it in multiple games this year. They did it last week. They did it in the Michigan game. When I see a team that doesn't have consistency, it's hard for me to put a pick on them a lot. So I'm picking Penn State in this game just because I do feel they are more battle tested. They have went on the road to West Virginia, won that game. But, I mean, aside from that game, I mean, that's probably their biggest test of the season. I mean, Illinois is solid, but going on the road in Morgantown is tough for anybody. And they went in and handled business against West Virginia. I think they'll do the same here with USC.
It's tough for me to pick them simply because they call them frames, where I'm a fan of frames. James Franklin, they call them frames, but it's just I don't know. He always finds a way to blow it in the big ones, and I just went back and looked. In 2023, they lost in week 7.
Yeah.
In 2021 or 2022, they lost in week 7. 2021, looking at it, they had a bye week in week 7, but they lost in week 6 and in week 8. So look, I'm not saying it's going to happen that way, but they have a tendency to lose against the big games around this part of the season, like Blake mentioned. You have a bye week coming up right after this. USC has been just bad luck. They have not been able to finish, and part of me, this is hard to say. I think that they're not going to be able to finish again. Though I do think that quarterback-wise for USC, they have the ability to do it. But line play and running defensive, stopping the run, I don't think they have it. I think Penn State is going to find a way on this one. And look, Penn State's biggest issues have been Michigan and Ohio State. Everybody else, typically, they do pretty decent against So we'll see. I think they're going to win this game in a very, very close manner. The spread is currently 3.5 in favor of Penn State. So I think they'll probably get right to that point. It might be a last second field goal, but it's going to be tight.
Nope, 2 touchdown loss.
Hey, if
I
that
hope so.
happens,
I would love it.
you know,
I'll be the first time I've ever actually actively rooted for USC.
hey, that's fair because I hate USC from all the old days that Michigan Michigan losing on a dang who is it? Chad Henne passed to I think it was Braylon Edwards, and it hits off his heel and flies up and is picked off, and you're like, what the hell? But look, I think Penn State finds a way. If they lose, no love lost. All right, let's jump on, gentlemen. Florida, Tennessee, interesting matchup. Tennessee has coming off that loss to Arkansas. Florida, solid win against UCF. Their only 2 losses are to Texas A&M. And then Miami early in the season. Texas A&M loss was a little bit closer, but again, they didn't have the Wigman coming out playing like he did last week. So curious what you guys think about this game. Does Florida actually have a chance? The spread is 15 in favor of Tennessee.
After this game, it'll be hashtag fire Napier.
He's cooked, baby.
He's cooked. Yeah, I mean, the writing was on the wall when week 2 he started the true freshman.
Yeah.
When they said they weren't gonna play him this year, and then in week 2, bam, here comes the true freshman.
Yeah.
So that was writing on the wall right there. You knew he was doing everything he could at that point to keep his job.
Yeah.
But I think Tennessee's going to roll, guys. There's really no question in my mind, but I think Tennessee's going to roll, especially in Knoxville. That I don't see Florida being able to handle that.
Yeah, Josh Heupel, he plays really well at home, and someone I go to church with pointed out to me that Tennessee tends to struggle on the road with their offensive system because it requires so much communication, and I'd never really paid attention to that. But if you go back and look on the road, they do tend to struggle on the road. I haven't looked at every season in the past of them, but I'm just going to take a Tennessee fan's word for it. But Florida can absolutely, yeah. Well, they some snitches. But they are low down and dirty as well. But and I just have to throw some more shade at these guys. They were throwing punches, flopping on players. God, they're dirty. But Florida can absolutely cause some ruckus in this game because Tennessee is a good football team. They are. And I am picking Tennessee, by the way. Just going to prerequisite that. But Florida is capable. I think they're equal talent with Arkansas, maybe slightly less, but I think they're right there with the level of athletes they have. Maybe even a little bit better at quarterback, but the offensive line don't really match up like Arkansas did with Tennessee. However, Tennessee, though, I think are a little overrated offensively. A lot of people shocked at the 70 and 80 points they scored against Chattanooga and Kent.
Yeah.
But the Oklahoma game was very eye-opening, and now we have the Arkansas game too, to see that when you play a team that has a defense that's capable of getting some pressure on I'm a llama lover, then you can cause some issues for Tennessee. And that happened in both of those games. It just so happened that Arkansas had some offense that could get in the end zone, whereas Oklahoma did not. But ultimately, I do think being at home, I think Tennessee does end up walking away with this win. But Florida can cause some issues for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Florida's obviously a talented team. They've got plenty of talent on the roster. It is funny to me that they thought Graham Mertz was the issue on this team. But I agree with Trevor. I think that was a last-ditch effort to, I'm making changes. I'm doing something as a coach. I don't think that's the case necessarily, though. Tennessee, though, when you look at the Arkansas game, the Oklahoma game, they're starting going up against defenses that actually work. NC State's defense is a shit, if you want me to be straight honest with you. I thought they were going to be better when you looked at who they brought in from the portal and what they had coming back. That's not the case. Arkansas, Oklahoma, these are teams that we pointed out in the preseason are going to have solid rosters. But will it all click? And Arkansas found a way to do it. I don't think Florida is going to be able to pull it off against Tennessee. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's probably maybe a little bit closer than the spread, maybe a 10 to 12 point victory, 13 type thing. But I mean that's hair razor thin type margin shit on that when you're talking about the spread. So I don't know. I think Tennessee pulls away with this one, but it would not surprise me if some stupid stuff happens and Florida finds a way to upset them. I don't know. It's a feeling. Let's move on, gents. Ole Miss and LSU. This is an interesting game because Ole Miss has had their problems. LSU has had their problems. But LSU recently, they've kind of been rolling, but again, it's UCLA, it's South Alabama. And then on the other hand, Ole Miss took a loss to Kentucky. They went out and beat the hell out of South Carolina. What do you guys think about this one? Who do you trust more at quarterback, Jackson Dart or Nussmeier? Who's going to be the one to finish this game out? Because I feel like this is going to be really tight, and the spread suggests that as well. 3.5 points in favor of Ole Miss.
Well, first I want to say, speaking of flops and dirty players and all that stuff like that,
Ole Miss.
We're going to talk about the flop masters over here at Ole Miss.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
For a second.
Insane.
It's blatant. It's blatant at this point. But Nussmeier, I'm not sold. I wasn't sold on Nussmeier in the preseason when everybody was going crazy about him. I was just I don't understand when he really hasn't done a whole lot to put that he's the next Heisman on a guy that really hasn't really done a whole lot. I don't understand that. But that being said, Ole Miss, once again, in a season where everybody thought they were going to be everything that we kind of thought they were going to be last year, is underperforming in the big games. So I don't know if you want to consider this a big game, but them being at LSU plays a big factor for me.
Yeah.
And in that case, with that being said, I'm going to give the edge to Nussmeier and the LSU Tigers, and I'm going to go ahead and pick them.
Yeah.
Good pick. Because I think the same thing. Ole Miss, so Kentucky, they are a good football team. They have a defense that would give a lot of offenses problems. The front guys they have on that front four are insanely good. They don't give up a lot of points. Shockingly, South Carolina, was able to put 33 or 36 up on them.
Yeah.
If Kentucky just had an offense, they would be a team to look out for in the SEC. Still are. But Ole Miss is not really battle tested. The Kentucky game is their biggest game that they've played this year. Aside from that, they really have faced a quality opponent. And here they come into Tiger Stadium. In LSU, though they have their issues, they are becoming a more cohesive team on both sides of the ball. Now, granted, like you said, their level of competition the past 2 weeks has not been great, but you can only go by what you see on film, and they have looked a lot better than they had looked in the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
So, you give LSU 3.5 points at home, I'm taking them. So, give them to me.
Yeah, and even the running back running ability, I feel like for LSU has gotten a little bit better. Maybe I'm wrong, but just looking at it, it feels a little bit stronger than what it was. Nussmeier, I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, he can put the ball in there. Is he the Heisman? People were, like Trevor mentioned, people were saying that preseason. And I know preseason picks, it's tough, man. You're going on a whim. You're like, hey, I think this is going to happen. It's all guessing. But I think he's solid. I think he's got an ability to go out and beat teams. They should have beat USC in week 1, to be honest with you. But then you look at Jackson Dart on the other side. People are calling him, he needs to be in the Heisman race. And I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just don't trust.
He's not there.
This offense.
He's just not there. He's not there. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't trust Ole Miss for some reason. Even no matter what they did in the offseason, all the money they spent, all the players they poached, it doesn't matter. I feel like LSU is going to find a way to win this game, and that scares the shit out of me again. Because
we all three.
God damn.
Every time we all three land on one, it goes the other way.
Well, we've done that a few times this episode, so I'm just wondering.
Well,
I'm wondering how this weekend's going to go. Honestly,
if it's a carryover of week of this, I'm curious to see what we all pick on the next one, guys. Because we got to move on. Ohio State, Oregon. Just to confirm, I picked LSU. I just feel like Nussmeier is going to be a little bit too much. I don't know. We'll see. Ohio State, Oregon, the biggest game of the weekend, probably the biggest game of the season so far. You could obviously say, Georgia, Alabama, but this one's huge when it comes down to these are both 5-0 teams. These are teams that, are both scheduled to win the Big Ten. Both have a lot of returning starters, a lot of, portal movement. I know Ohio State fans don't get triggered. You didn't go get a shit ton of players, but you paid a bunch for a lot of good ones. So whatever. But either way, when we're talking about it, Oregon, Ohio State, who comes out? Dillon Gabriel, Howard, Judkins, James. Break it down for me, boys. What are you feeling on this game? The spread is currently 3 in favor of Ohio State.
I honestly don't give a shit if Ohio State fans get triggered. You guys bought your team, and that's just the way it is. Oregon fans, you can get triggered too, because guess what? You pretty much bought your team too.
They did.
I know people don't talk about it very much, not like they do with Ohio State, but both of these teams, it is the battle of the bot teams. That is what we are talking about right now. The bots.
It's a bot lobby. Bot lobby.
They're making it rain over there in Eugene and freaking Buckeye Land. I can't say the name. I don't.
It's manufactured weather.
It's a manufactured teams over here.
It's a catalyst.
But that being said, Ohio State, while they're a good team, I personally think they're a little overrated. I think they have a good offense. I think they have Judkins is by far the best running back out of the two. I didn't think I'd say that at the beginning of the year. I thought it'd be Henderson, to be perfectly honest, because I last year I liked the way Henderson ran the ball.
Yeah,
I just like just the way he ran the ball. I liked it better. But Judkins has really proven himself as being a really formidable running back all the way across the board. So it'll be interesting to see the running game versus the Oregon defense. And honestly, this is a tough one for me, but I'm gonna go with Oregon in this particular case, because at the end of the day, I do think Dillon Gabriel is a much better quarterback.
So when I was looking at this game, I was trying to see what team I could find had an edge somewhere, because they're pretty similar on paper. But where I've found, I look into the secondary on defense, and looking at what Ohio State has, I feel like they've got a little bit of an edge in the secondary going up against Oregon's offense. That Oregon's defense does not match up as well against Ohio State's offense. I feel like Will Howard coming in has helped a lot with some of the problems that they had last year, especially one of their problems last season at Ohio State was the short gains, the 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, they couldn't, sustain drives. And with Will Howard, he's a much better runner with his legs than what Kyle McCord was. And that gives him a little bit more of an ability to extend some drives. I'm not overly impressed with Oregon defensively. I mean, they've looked, the part for who they've played, but I just haven't seen like a wow factor defensively out of their front seven anyways. And, you look at their secondary against the receiving core Ohio State has, I don't like the way it matches up for Oregon. So I'm going Ohio State. I just think there's too much in key positions where they win the one-on-one battle. And I mean, I like Ohio State by I'd say 2 touchdowns.
I'm really curious to see how Oregon comes out because last year they should have beaten Washington the first game. They blew it, and then they got smoked by them in the second game. How does Dan Lanning come in and recover from that? Because this is the same situation in the next year. You have a potential here that you could play Ohio State in this game and then play them in the Big Ten championship. Very possible that this happens this year. Does that lean on him? Does that weigh on him? When you look at both the teams, they're really not that tested. I mean, Oregon more so because they played a solid Boise team. But when you look at it, Ohio State, Iowa, yes, strong defense, but they have 0 offense. Again, this is another team, no offense. MSU, rough team. Marshall, group of 5 team, not horrible, but they're not great. Akron, horrible. Western Michigan, horrible. I feel like Oregon's a little bit more tested, but when it comes down to it, Jeremiah Smith, the crew from Ohio State, I said in the preseason, I think they're going to win in the regular season, but I feel like Oregon is going to find a way to take this game and learn from it, unlike last year. And if they replay, they might beat them again. So I'm going to go Ohio State on this one. As much as I hate to say it, I think that Will Howard's going to be just a little too much on the ground. And now, look, I like Dylan Gabriel. I think this dude's talented. I think he's a better quarterback. But with the rest of the talent around what Ohio State has, all that they return, I think they'll be able to squeeze it out, and it's going to be close. Defensively for Ohio State, they've had issues with their ends showing up in the biggest of games. They showed up the one time against Penn State where he had like a pick six defensive lineman. I can't remember his name, JT, but it's still, can they show up here? I don't know if they will. But if they do, that's no doubt they win this game. So I'm gonna go Buckeyes on this one. It's gonna be close, I think, though. We'll see. We're moving on though. We're gonna talk West Virginia. This one's an interesting matchup here. West Virginia versus Iowa State, and I picked Iowa State to win the conference this year. I'm not shooting my own horn, but they're in a pretty decent position right now. What do you guys think of this one? It's an interesting matchup because West Virginia's finally starting to come on. But then again, Oklahoma State's been sputtering. So is it really West Virginia coming on, or is it the product of who they're playing? Iowa State, on the other hand, looking pretty solid. Rocco Beck, I like him at quarterback. I think he's decent. Garrett Green as well. So what do you guys think on this one?
Well,
am I mumbling too much?
It kills me.
I like the Cyclones. They're all right. I have a problem. They like to gamble. They have a problem. They like to gamble too much. And Mountaineers. I just think the West Virginia Mountaineers are gonna go into Morgantown. I think they're just gonna get this game. I think is going to be a little closer than I think it's going to be, but I think West Virginia will end up playing it out. My brain is all over the place. Like there's so much shit I want to talk, and I just now my brain's arguing with itself right now.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, I agree. Iowa State, I don't think they've played a high quality opponent at this point.
Yep, they haven't.
West Virginia has played Penn State. They've played Pitt, and they had an opportunity to beat Pitt. Threw it away. Beat Oklahoma State on the road. Coming in a not game in Morgantown, it's the perfect storm for them to steal this game, and I think they're going to do it too. I've got West Virginia.
Trev, who the hell did you pick again?
I said West Virginia.
All right, had to double check. All right, well, goddamn,
on the whiskey.
I can't do it. Hey, this is premium. This is called Whistle Pig. This is good stuff. Shout out to Kirk for the recommendation, of course. If you watch the show, I know you've been traveling, buddy, but welcome back to the real world, and we're talking football. It's good.
So, Brendan.
No, either way.
So, Brendan, Iowa State at West Virginia. Who do you got?
Well, I can't pick with you guys anymore. I can't do it. We've been on the same page for so many of these games. Even though I think that West Virginia could win this game, I'm going with Iowa State in the upset. It's not even an upset.
It's not an upset, buddy.
You need to get off the whistling pig, my friend.
Whistling
Look,
Pigs throwing you
Okay,
for a
I
loop,
said
buddy.
that because they're on the road. Okay, disregard. I'm going with Iowa State. They're the team. They're going in the top 10 next week. I don't give a damn. They're doing it. Rocco Beck, they love him. I love him. He's one of the greatest people. And I think they're playing the Cole game, right? They're all going blackout.
Yeah, Cole
so
Rush.
it's going to be pretty cool. They're going Cole Rush, and maybe Iowa State's rocking their whites and blacks. So we'll see. But I'm going Iowa State. To hell with them. That's what we're rocking with. Let's jump on to the next one. Kansas State, the game everybody's been waiting for the last year. Kansas State versus Colorado. Does Colorado have it in them, boys? They're currently in position to win the Big 12, guys. This cannot happen.
It might just happen. And I fucking hate myself for saying it. I hate myself for saying it, folks. First of all, this is not a fun game for me to pick. So on one hand, I want to piss people off. On the other hand, I don't want to piss myself off. Like, I'm going to piss myself off with this pick and I'm going to piss some other people off at the same time. So it's going to be a win-win for me. So yeah, Shedeur Sanders and the Sanders family versus Kansas State, and they're going to win.
Colorado gets
I'm with you, dude.
I hate myself so much right now.
I hate Colorado with a passion. And this one right here is like, I'm so back and forth on this game.
Yeah.
I want Kansas State to win so bad, but I worry about their defense. Colorado, though they're one-dimensional, they can throw the football and they can move the football and they can put points up fast. Kansas State is not built. I know they put points up too, but they are not built to get into a shootout with a team like Colorado. And if Colorado's defense can hold how they did against UCF was it last week? Yeah, last week.
Yeah, last week.
If their defense can play like that, they can slow Kansas State down enough to where they get a possession or two ahead. And I just don't know that Kansas State's able to keep up with it. That being said, I'm picking Kansas State just because I will not give in and pick Colorado because I hate them that much. So please, God, let Kansas State win this game.
Boys, Kansas State is 3.5-point favorites in this game in Folsom Field. They're on the road. Look, they got their shit kicked in by BYU. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And BYU is a team that nobody was really talking about at all this season. Now, I know the interior of like the fan base of BYU is like, we were telling you guys, people on the outside, they even said this in our YouTube comments, people from the outside, they don't see what we saw. We knew what we had. Things didn't shake out last year, but look at the core. Okay, got it. It's hard looking out from the outside looking in. But now we're seeing this. BYU's coming on. They've got a strong strength of record. They beat the hell out of Kansas State. Kansas State goes out, and they beat the hell out of Oklahoma State, who has turned out to have just they're tanking. Same shit that happens, I feel like, every year with Oklahoma State. And Colorado on the other side, okay, they lose to Nebraska, which is a solid-looking team. They go out, they barely beat Baylor. They beat UCF, which has had struggles of their own. I don't think that Colorado is maybe as good as people are saying. I know they're 4-1. They're 2-0 in conference. All this shit. Shedeur is he's no doubt he's a good quarterback. Travis Hunter is a special talent. I just feel like there's going to be some way that Kansas State pulls this off. And then Edwards' redemption tour after he's coming over from Colorado. I'm going Kansas State, but I think it's going to be really close because they said they can score quick. Colorado can. They find a way. But I'm rocking Kansas State. Boys, last one of the night, Arizona, BYU. We just mentioned them, BYU. What do you guys think of this team? Rhett Slav at quarterback. He's having a solid year. He's been running well for them also. Are they going to find a way to pull it out against Fafita and McMillan?
Honestly, I'm not a fan of that statement. Is Arizona going to find a way to pull it out against that BYU overall best team? I think BYU's
Fair.
got some secret formula going on. And as long as they can control just McMillan, let Fafita do whatever he wants to do. Just control McMillan. Don't let McMillan get the ball in his hands, and you're fine.
Yeah.
But I honestly think I really do think BYU has something going on right now, and I think if they are able to beat Arizona, which I do think they will, I think people are going to start really taking notice after this game.
So I went deep on this one because this is the toughest game I think to pick on this whole spread here. These are just some interesting statistics here. BYU, when ranked number 14, 2-6 in games.
Oh,
When playing at home during week 7 as a ranked team, 1-9.
oh,
Interesting statistic. But then again, I'm with Trevor. Something's rolling with BYU. I mean, they've had 6 running backs out this season, still finding a way to get it done on the ground, and they're all listed to play this week. They've just been very consistent on both sides of the ball. Arizona has not, but Arizona is one of those teams. Like
as soon as you count them out, here they come.
I know, and on the road is when Arizona seems to play their best football. So that's another thing. I'm very back and forth because we all know McMillan is, the Fafita to McMillan combination. That's the greens of that offense.
Yeah.
And even though people know that, it's still a struggle to stop it because they're that good.
Yep.
And the running game has come on the past couple of weeks for Arizona. I mean, it's not great, but it's been better. Defensively, the same thing. They're not great, but they've been good enough. It's just, I feel like Vegas is giving so much to BYU. All the betting odds are going to BYU, and that's when it's screaming, go Arizona. But
you sticking with the Soren Mormons?
Come back to me. Give me like.
Oh,
you go.
Man.
Wow.
Look at me. Fumbles the bag on the 1 yard line.
Your turn. Go.
Okay, I'll give you one here. BYU is going to win this game.
All right, it's back to you, Blake.
No.
Go ahead. Give your analysis.
I don't know, man. It's just simply who they've beaten Kansas State, who's beaten Arizona handily. Kansas State's had good wins on their record, but they went out and they beat the hell out of them. And then they beat Baylor well. They beat Wyoming, SMU. Now I know SMU at the time they were having some quarterback issues, and maybe that game would be different right now. But somehow BYU, they're 5-0, and it just feels like they've got some shit going on, like Trevor said. And I know last year Arizona got to this point of the season, but they were also playing a different quarterback. And then they brought in Fafita, and then things started to click. But they also had Jed Fish, who I think is a better coach, X's and O's wise right now, than what Arizona is dealing with at the moment. And look, they also lost talent on the defensive side, everything else. It doesn't matter. I think BYU is going to find a way to win this game. It's a 3-point spread in favor of them. And I don't know. I don't know. They're at home. They're in Provo. I feel like the stadium's going to go ape shit as much as they can. They're going to soak in this beautiful, scenery, and they're going to win this game.
The Mormons. Can't live with them. Could live without them. Give me the Mormons.
All right.
Nice. Arizona's winning this shit, right?
Yep.
Most likely.
Everybody that we picked the same on is going to lose.
Lord help us. All right. Hey, look, we made horrible jokes. We talked a little bit of trash. And, we're done with the picks for the week. And we're going to go hit up the old gridlocks, boys. What are your gridlocks? Bring it up. There they are. Look at this. Big ones. guaranteeing them to win. Trevor is going with Oregon as a guarantee. Blake, LSU, locking that in. I kind of went off script. I'm going Arizona State. I think they find a way to get the win. It's going to be a big one, 3.5 points. We'll see what happens. Boys, any comments on your gridlocks?
No, I just really hope Oregon wins. That's all.
You're just trying to will it,
Just
to
willing
victory.
it to happen, man. Just willing it to happen.
Are you picking Arizona State
Over
with
Utah.
in mind that Rising is not playing?
Yeah, if he's not playing, absolutely. I think that he wins. It's actually, I don't know why I put it at 3.5. It's 5.5. That was a mistype. I'll edit that. But currently the spread is 5.5 in favor of Utah. Now they're saying that Rising's gonna fight. He's gonna step in. I don't care. I'm rocking Arizona State. I'm going Arizona State. So that's a 5.5 point spread. I'll edit the graphic.
I like that pick you did, Blake. I like the LSU pick too. That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, look, you guys are both playing the catch-up part. You know, I'm leading, so we're
playing the catch-up, but I don't think any of us went out on a limb on this week, at least.
I got a limb for you, but yeah, no, I agree.
There really wasn't any good big spread games to go out on, though. I mean, all of them were pretty tight this week.
You're right.
I'm hoping for Stanford to take down Notre Dame. That'd be freaking hilarious. Yeah,
Florida over Tennessee is my dream. I would if I lose every game on my pick 'em and Florida wins, I'm happy.
There was a thought that I was going to pick Oklahoma over Texas, and then I came back to my senses.
Yeah, hey, the only other one that I looked at that I was like, okay, I think this one could legitimately be it was Washington over Iowa.
Okay, yeah,
that was.
I mean,
I see that.
Very similar to Michigan's style of play.
Yeah. Poor quarterback play at the time and solid defense. And we'll see. But either way, guys, that's the show. We appreciate you guys watching, of course, and dealing with our silliness tonight. It was a long night. We had a good time. A little bit later start, so we were just having fun with it. We appreciate you guys, of course. Please like and subscribe, and make sure you check out the blog too. We'll share that. Check out all the socials if you only listen on Spotify or whatever the podcast sites are. Check out our YouTube. Go check out our social medias. That helps us a lot. Again, we thank you guys. We hope you have a great night. We'll catch you around.
Adios.
Night, everybody.